Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am very, very excited. I am Lindsay O'Connor from Adtaxi. I'm the Senior Sales Director here. And I have the pleasure of working with Donica Jackson, who is the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Lee College. And the reason why I am having this go on and have this conversation with Donica is she has been an amazing partner with us at Adtaxi as far as a client, and we have learned just as much as she has learned and grown with us. And I thought from just a pure industry standpoint, she is somebody who brings a wealth of knowledge and a lot of great insights that I think, people in a similar position as hers, you guys could all learn a tremendous amount from. So I'm really excited to just go through, pick her brain, and hopefully you all can join in. But first, let me just give you a little bit of background about her. She's amazing. She started off as a TV reporter, which made me a little bit nervous even interviewing her today. And then also a professor during that time period. Later, she pivoted to work in various roles at the Houston Community College. And most recently, she is as I had mentioned, the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer at Lee College. So welcome, Donica. Thank you so much for your time. So some of the things too that I really, really want to talk about, and again, that we've been able to just be a part of firsthand and see, is the remarkable steps that you all took and the strategies you've implemented to have a really strong and successful 2020 fall enrollment. And I think with this specific time, that we're in, to see that growth and you kind of just, totally outpacing the trends that we're seeing across the board is just awesome. So really, to start off, can you just talk about some of the strategies and the things that you've been implementing to see such success?
Well, thank you. I would like to take full credit, but I can't. I have an amazing team led by Linda Villanueva, who is the president of Lee College, who is innovative and gives me the space to be able to do my job well. And so I'm very grateful. And my direct supervisor, Angela Oriano, is also amazing. That being said, it's a very holistic approach. We look at the entire student. So what we're looking at is what does a student needs? And that can be anything from financial, meaning tuition help, or it can be something like food, gas, lodging in this period of time. And then we try to look at what the roadblocks are for students and remove those roadblocks. So what I mean by that is that if there's a financial issue, we try to help with finances. We use CARES Act to provide monies for rent, clothing, food, household items. And you'd be surprised at how many people were having to choose between going to school and paying for basic needs and essentials. And so we made the decision to use that money to help students directly. We also had partnerships with different school districts, where we came together with 2 school districts that are in our service area to provide free tuition for students who graduated from those schools in 2020. So that was a big help for a lot of parents, especially when people are losing jobs and don't have the money to be able to send their kids to school, especially four-year institutions, which are drastically more expensive than community colleges. And then we also looked at the fact that how people enter school and them being successful in school and maintaining their process through schools, making sure that they're placed in the right courses the first time. And in the state of Texas, we have something called the TSI, and that basically measures a student's college readiness, and it's an exam. Well, in the situation with COVID, it wasn't necessarily safe to have people on campus. And, foremost in our minds is always the safety of our staff and our students. And so we started using multiple measures. So versus using the TSI exam, what we did is we looked at their GPA, we looked at, there's test scores from SAT, ACT, standardized tests. We looked at their scores from graduating high school and the exit exams that you have to take with the TAX and the TOS and things of that nature that are here. And I guess it's a STAR test now. We looked at those exit exams and see where they were. And we used multiple measures to make sure that we were placing people in the right courses. So when they got in those courses, they were able to be successful. Because one of the biggest things that we see is that when you place students in the wrong course, either they're bored or they're overwhelmed, and then they're not likely to continue. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to make sure that we looked overall at the whole holistic student and met them where they were and found whatever needs they had, removed the roadblock, and showed them that education was the key to making their dreams come true and being able to take care of their families. When you look at the statistics across the country, everyone's hurting, but people who have some level of training, whether it be an associate's degree, a certificate, or an advanced degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, so forth and so on, they're hurting a lot less than individuals who don't have anything past a high school education or a GED. And so we want to give people the tools they need to be successful and further their education and have sustainable life. And that's what we try to do.
That's incredible. Yeah. And especially, I think it's just really interesting that you were able to make those changes so quickly and address, the current needs. And especially as you had mentioned, I think, community colleges and those certain types of degrees are huge right now during these times too, where people are maybe reinventing themselves, trying to find new careers or position themselves in a better place, to thrive. And so just being available and making yourself, easy to be accessed is just amazing. So was it hard to change those things internally to, get yourself in this position?
It wasn't without its problems, obviously, and challenges. A lot of it was because my tenure at Lee College started in January, and our president's tenure at Lee College started in January. So we were fresh with new eyes. And so we had to come in and learn the system. But with that, I think there was a wealth of excitement and exuberance to get the job done. And like I said, the numbers are pretty astronomical. We saw a 41% increase in enrollment over the summer, where we offered free tuition to anybody that was in our service area. So there's a huge desire for people to want to go to school. And then in a time when most colleges and community colleges across Texas and across the United States are seeing a decrease in enrollment, we're up. We're not up a tremendous amount, but we're up. I think 1 to 2% over last year's enrollment at this time. And most people are down. Our competition is down. And I know because they've called me 18 to 25% in this region. And then we're also, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say nationally, just to kind of put numbers in perspective in case, maybe everyone's aware, but I know nationally for just normal, just universities, four-year colleges, what have you, it's a 16% average that they're down, and community colleges specifically are 22.5% down. So you are blowing those numbers away, which is just incredible.
Our dual credit enrollment's up 18%. So we're really leveraging those partnerships. And that was the other thing I think is a key, is understanding who's in your community and leveraging those relationships and partnerships to be the best you can for your students. And we really do have an administration led by Dr. Linda Villanueva, who is student focused, student first, and making sure that we, and regardless of your faculty, you're the janitor, you work in the food court, or you're the chief communication and marketing officer, that that your number one priority is making the college experience accessible, easy, and beneficial to anyone who comes through the doors. And that's the focus. And that's why everything we touch has that lens on it. And our goal is to make sure our students are successful and we're successful, and that we're a benefit to the community, because we realize that your tax dollars go to us, and we want to make sure that you realize that we are a valuable part of that community and we want to give back.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think too, just, the position that you've been in, just in order to be able to, again, to get this executed, I think that the two biggest things that stood out to me about what you said is coming in with fresh eyes, right? So, maybe some other college or, people that are in your position wanting to implement similar things might not, be new or have a new president or somebody to come in and really help drive this. But I think it's the idea of looking at all of this type of situation and changes with fresh eyes and being able to make those adjustments. And then most importantly, being student first and thinking, how can we best service them and the community as a whole? So those are just awesome points and takeaways from what you just said that I heard. So in addition to, so obviously you all have done really smart things, just internally and making sure this stuff is out there and available. How are you getting that out then to the community? How are you getting that message out there? How are you communicating it to parents and students and, prospective students, obviously? Like, what are some of the tactics that you're currently doing and then maybe added on this year specifically?
It's a wide range of things. I think the key is, so often universities or even not just universities and colleges, but any type of marketing, they understand who their students are or who their customers are. They understand what they are as far as demographics, where they live, how much money they make, but they don't understand what motivates them and why. And so what we did was look at what motivates the individuals that we're going after, and then we programmed our marketing to meet those needs. So we know we know who they are, we know where they are. We need to know why they watch certain programs, why they buy certain products, why they're interested in certain um, ideologies, why do they read certain books? When you understand why someone does something, then you have a better idea of how their mind works and how best to go after them and put a messaging in front of them that's going to resonate with them, that's going to make them move. The goal marketing takes 5 to 7. It depends on who you read. 5 to 7, 5 to 12 touches before someone actually bites. But if your messaging is off and you are not reaching them in an emotional level, because college, like everything else, people respond to emotion. They don't really respond to facts. So one of the reasons why you'll see people, what my sister said to me today, I don't understand why people vote against their own best interest, because they're voting from a place of emotion. And that's the same thing with marketing. It's my job to tap into that emotion in a positive way and and get them to move. And so what we've done is, particularly because I know the age and the socioeconomic background of our students, we looked at where they're most likely to be. And then we do mirroring of those students. So if we know we have one student who's interested in nursing, that's this specific age, this specific race, that's from this specific area, we look for other people that are like that student. And then we create marketing and messaging that is impactful to them on platforms that they're going to be accessible for. For example, we know that we have a very, very high touch rate with our female students who listen to digital radio. They really responded to our digital radio campaigns. And so when we're on the digital radio, we do have some ads that feature men, but the majority of our ads feature women of a certain age, because that's what we saw was responding the most. We also make sure that everything is automated for, cell phones. I live with it. It's right here. My cell phone is, next to my bed. But the reality is the generations of people now access the website, they access the, television, they access radio, it's a computer. It's no longer really a phone. It's your life and your lifeline. You do everything on it. And so we make sure that everything we do is optimized to perform on smartphones. We also have gotten away from more traditional media. Yes, we still do that, because one, we're being a good community. Remember, we want to be good business partners with small business in our area. And so we are in the newspapers and things of that nature. But the bulk of our money is spent on digital content. So we're on search. We have a brand new, robust and beautiful website that is with search engine optimization that looks drastically different than what we had before. We just launched that. And we're seeing more than a 49% increase in traffic to our website since the launch of the new website. And that was August 15th that we launched it.
Oh, wow.
So we have connected TV where we're on streaming services. We've got Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram, and understanding the social media, and understanding that when we're going on Snapchat, the messaging is vastly different than when we're going on Facebook, because Facebook, we're going after their parents, because kids that are between the ages of 18 and 25, which are the Gen Z or the Gen I, are not on Facebook. The average age of Facebook and a Twitter user is over 40. And people don't realize that. They're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, and they're on Instagram. And so we're trying to make sure that we are getting messages in front of them that generates interest, and then also making the messaging available for their parents. And for example, the free tuition and things that we did last summer, and we did in partnership with the school districts this fall, that was targeted more towards parents, because kids aren't thinking about that. Most kids don't even think about paying for college. I remember going to college and not having any concept of how I was going to pay for it. I was a scholarship kid, so I didn't have to, but it never even crossed my mind that there was going to be a check have to be written. I was focused on getting in. And I think a lot of kids are like that. And I think the other thing is making the argument with the students, and this is about messaging, that going to a community college or / junior college is not less than going to a 4-year. It's just a different option. Because there's something about, we know from market research, there's something about that word community next to college that people don't like. They think that, or they don't like junior in college. They think that means it's less. And that's one of the reasons why, if you've noticed, there's a lot of colleges that are rebranding themselves that are 2-year institutions as 2-year institutions, and they don't have community or junior in the title, because they don't, it's a pejorative term in the context of college. Making sure they understand that the quality of the education is just as good as if you went to a 4-year, and making that argument with their parents as well, because they're a lot of times are going to be the biggest influencers with that age group. And, you know, we skew, community colleges always skew a little older than, say, traditional four-year institutions, but the
Right.
bulk of our students are still going to be between the ages of 18 and 25, which is solidly no longer millennials, solidly in iGen,
Right.
you
Right.
know, or Gen Z. So I
Right.
think those are the kinds of things that we've done is figure out what mediums they're on, what they're watching, and then we
Mm-hmm.
try to program to them with messaging that's going to be impactful to them, that's going to generate ideas and make them want to make a connection with us and expand their horizons. Because a lot of times there's things that we offer that people don't think that a JUCO or a community college will offer, and
Right.
we do offer those programs.
Right. So when it's just back to, you know, obviously you had all of these different campaigns out there and you were running a bunch of different strategies. How are you measuring success? So I know that you said you saw traffic to the site increase, which is awesome. And more so probably from the SEO and just the change in the flow and the time of the year. But, you know, how are you measuring success? So reaching out to a parent versus reaching out to a student, like what is that KPI that you're looking at, you know, when
It
you're,
it
yeah.
really depends on the medium that we're in. For social media, it's usually engagement, and then it's the length of engagement. Like if it's a video, if we're doing something on social media, it's a video. If they're watching 95% of the video, that's something that we want to, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we measure as success. But at the end of the day, it's enrollment, because that's where, you know, as much as we are absolutely here to serve the community and be a community partner and help people achieve their goals and dreams, we're a business too, and we've got to, you know, in order to get the contact reimbursement from the state, in order to make sure that we all keep our jobs, we've got to have enrollment. So at the end of the day, it's enrollment. We measure we use multiple metrics, and we measure the amount of traffic that is driven to a specific web page, and we drive them to specific pages with specific campaigns. We measure the engagement with radio. We measure the engagement, number of views, the number of people who click on the ads, the click-through rate. We measure all of that, and then we look at enrollment. And we can always see a direct correlation between a campaign that works and
Mm-hmm.
and enrollment going up. We know, you know, and we do some traditional advertising still. We do stuff like we have these big billboards that said free college, because we're offering free college for the summer, and that's free is a word people like.
Right.
You know, and so and you don't have a lot of time when you have a billboard, because people are driving so fast, and these are on major highways, so they're, you know, you're going 70 miles an hour, you're
Right.
it's free, you know, and
Right.
it was in big red letters. So we can't really measure the ROI on that. But that's exposure. We can say this number of people saw it. So I think it depends on what what medium you're in as to whether or not it can be successful. But I can tell you that the amount of traffic driven to the website from an ad, for example, the summer ads, it quadrupled from what the regular traffic was. And it would, and the amount of time that they stayed on the page. Because here's the thing, is when we get them to the page, and that's what I tell my recruitment team all the time, is like, it's marketing's job to get you to the door. It's not our job to get them through the door. You know, like when you go to when you see a commercial for a car dealership, you know, I just bought a car. Well, when I saw the commercial for Audi, the commercial didn't sell me the car. When I got there, the salesman who had engaged with me sold me the car.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is to get them to the door, to get them engaged, just to have them asking questions, and once they do that, to sell it. So I think it's two sides of the same coin, in the sense, like there's a very fine line between recruitment and marketing, but we also monitor that handoff and made sure that when I'm handing the student off from engagement and interest to you, that we have things in place to make sure that they stay engaged, and that their questions are answered fast, and that they have a good student experience and initial encounter with Lee. Because what we do know is that for a lot of the people, and a huge ROI is conversion, in the sense of they show interest, they don't actually register, or they show interest and they do register. And that component is not about the marketing, it's about the experience they have when they engage with the website, it's about the experience they have when they engage with the ad, it's about the experience they have when they actually get someone on the phone, or they're chatting with someone about the programs. So I mean, like I said, it really depends.
Right.
But I think for us, the big one is enrollment, the big one is amount of time spent on the website, the amount of time spent on chat, the amount of time spent on, the number of increase in financial aid applications, because, you don't necessarily have to fill that out, and showing and selecting Lee as a option for your FAFSA to go to, all gives an indication that our marketing is going in the right direction.
Yep.
And like I said, and and there are other things that go into it, but those I don't have. This is the first year, because it's COVID and because of the transition into almost online, exclusively online learning. It's very difficult for me to say this works in comparison to historical data, because we've literally never had this type of situation before present itself.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
so it's a difficult thing, but those are the things that we were using, and we were able to see the needle move.
Yep. Well, and I think another thing too that you had said that I know that us here at Adtaxi, we get asked a lot is the messaging, right? So I do think creative, yes, utilizing, so you had given the example of Facebook and Snapchat. So two totally, yes, social media, but two different platforms, two different audiences that you're appealing to. And so you have to have two different creative. Did you find it challenging to try to find a creative to work on both? And was it, video? Was it easy to make and produce? Did you use your students? Like, I'm just curious how you executed the creative as well.
No, I'm very fortunate that I have a very dedicated staff that's very talented. So basically what we did is we figured out who our target audiences were. We created marketing specifically for those audience. For people who were worried about money, we created a series of commercials and campaigns for them. For people who were interested more in specific programming when money wasn't an issue, we created that. For people who were looking for experience, we created something specifically for them. And then we targeted them based on the information we knew about where they were.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't find it difficult. Time consuming, yes, but not difficult. I think the biggest problem was because I was so new when I came in, and the president was so new when we came in, with identifying what those target audiences were going to be that offered the most growth. Because Lee College is a little different. Like most community colleges, or most colleges, period, are dominant women, and we're pretty close, but we actually have more males registered than we do females, and that makes us a little bit of an anomaly. So that kind of, when I started pulling the data on where our students were and who they are, that was a little shocking when I found that out. So, it wasn't hard, but it was something that we were meticulous about, in making sure that we had messages. And I think the other key is we don't let messages, we have a theme. Like if you look at this advertising that we've done, you can always see that it's related, but we don't necessarily keep the same messaging for more than 4 to 6 weeks, because we don't want people to think that they've already seen that. We're constantly changing and constantly switching out.
Yeah.
And then in working with Adtaxi, some of your counterparts were laughing, because when we would send content, like, well, we need 4, we would send 18 social media pieces. So the point of the matter is that now you've got it. So when I call and say it's time to change up, all you have to do is load it up, because I plan that far out. My marketing plan is 18 months in advance of when I need it. And then the goal is for my team is to trigger the stuff as I'm triggering it. And the messaging flows along the same way. Our first messaging campaign was forget what you think you know about community college. And that ties into what I was saying earlier, which was people have a misconception about what community college offers. And then from that, it was a kind of a, did you know that you can go to college for free based on this? And we kept building on that, but it kind of all came out of it. Forget what you know, forget what you think you know. Everything kind of hung on that.
Sure.
And so that was kind of the mind frame and the way in which we attacked it. And luckily, again, I have such amazing leadership in my college. They allowed us to forge into this unknown when everyone was worried about what enrollment was going to look like. And then we're coming up triumphant. Because I know there are no colleges in our immediate vicinity that are showing, at least community colleges. There are some universities, but there's no community colleges that are showing an uptick in enrollment. I've actually had 2 of the largest colleges call me and go, are you guys down? And I said, no, we're up. They're like, what did you do? I was like, yeah, okay, we're not doing that. We're not giving you the marketing plan.
Yeah.
Like I want you guys to be successful, but you are our competition.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
This is again,
share, but yeah, gotcha. No, it makes a ton of sense. And I think, is it challenging? And I'm just asking because I don't know if this is something that you use based on your marketing data or just like a CRM that you have. Was it hard for you to decipher who exactly and pinpoint that ideal candidate or audience that you were trying to go after?
We don't have a CRM, so it was very hard. So there was a lot of anecdotal information. And honestly, in this case, a little bit of luck. Like we were in the process of doing major market research when COVID hit, and it all had to crash. All kind of all crashed and burned. So what we did was we used a lot of sentiment analysis, meaning we went out and we read what people were saying, what people were struggling with on social media, on review platforms, and we identified the issues that our community at large were dealing with. And then looked and said, okay, this is what the community at large is dealing with. Our students come from that community, thus our students are dealing with that. And from that point, we were able to craft messaging based on what we were seeing as the pain points for the places in our community. And we're a very industrialized, like we're oil and gas country where I am. Like I literally drive through one, I don't remember, I'm not going to say the company name, but I don't really remember, but it's one of the major oil companies. I drive through the plant. It's on both sides as I go to work in Baytown, Texas. And so there at one point, oil was negative something a barrel. Like I was like, I've never heard of oil being negative dollars a barrel, but it was because it got hit so hard with what was going on with COVID-19. So that being said, that means that people that work at those plants are being hit. The people that, things are shutting down. And so it was easy for us to be able to pinpoint what some of the pain points were. And then we try to wrap marketing and contextualize what we had to offer to help mitigate that problem for them.
Yeah, that's a smart approach. And I think that's something, that we hear about in different industries. I don't know specifically if education is using that as much as they could, because to your point, the students, professors, people who are just there engaged and completely immersed into your community would be perfect to be, an advocate or to give you that feedback that, they might not say, directly to you if you were to ask. So is there anything, I think that you've given a lot of really great insight, and I think, it's been fun chatting, but I don't know if there's anything else just in your mind that you feel like would be important for, your fellow colleagues to know, or that's just helpful, what you've been kind of learning as you've.
I think in the world of education, the word innovative gets thrown around a lot. And I don't know that a lot of times people who are using the word actually understands what it means. It's not just innovation and talking about it. It's innovation in how you're doing it. It's looking at making sure that brick and mortar institutions are changing with the population that they're serving. One of the things we did to make sure that we offer four modalities, meaning 4 delivery methods for education. We have online, we have asynchronous and synchronous online education, meaning one is you go at your own pace and you just have to make deadlines. The other one is you actually log on at a regular class time and have lecture and engagement. Then we have hybrid courses, and we have face-to-face courses for things that you just absolutely can't do. You cannot learn to weld, online. That's not, but we offered students multiple means in which to take our classes and engage with us. We also made sure that we staggered start dates, because what we found happening is there was a lot of upheaval with what was going to happen with public schools when school went back in session, because public schools are shut down pretty much everywhere. And so parents who have kids, you are not thinking about your school until you get your kids settled with their school. If you don't know they're going to be back, or you don't know if you're going to be doing homeschooling with the computer and all that kind of stuff. So what we also made sure that we offered kind of sliding scales. We had 10-week courses, 12-week courses, 13-week courses, 5-week courses that started throughout the semester. So if you couldn't start in August, maybe you can pick up that class for to be a more intensive and the shorter, longer hours for a shorter period of time. We try to make sure we did that as well. And so I think the key is understanding who your student body is, the community that you're serving, and addressing their needs. Because again, if you look at what their needs are and you create and craft not just messaging, but you craft an experience, getting them through the door, getting them triaged and registered, getting their classes paid for, and then offer them programming in a flexible manner in which they can take it the way they want to take it at times they want to take it, they're more likely to be engaged. People want a better life for their family. They want to have training. They want to work. And we're, a doorway or a catalyst to them being able to get to that. But they've got to be able to do it in a way that works for them as opposed to as a way that works for us as an institution. And that's the change. And that's innovative. And too many institutions don't see it that way. We're going to offer it this way. You either take it this way or you don't go with us. And Lee College is not operating in that space. We're here to say we're partnering with you to make your life better, to offer you education, and to make sure that your overall experience with us is a good one.
Yep. I think that's incredible. And again, I mean, it's just been reflective in everything that you've talked about is, again, making the student first, and also just not being afraid to take risks almost and try new things, and put yourself out there on, especially from like a digital standpoint, trying connected TV right now, trying digital audio, trying Snapchat, like that's awesome. And it's not something that you can necessarily always get that buy-in because it is a little bit, untested or whatever, in the education space. So I think that's huge. So again, I think the biggest thing that you said is just being client focused or student focused and making sure that you're servicing them the best way possible, and actually kind of putting your money where your mouth is. If you say you're innovative, then you have to actually go ahead and execute on that. So that's awesome. But I appreciate this conversation so much, and obviously the time. And I know if I were an educator, in a similar shoes as you, I would have a lot to have taken away here. I know I have, and we always do it at Adtaxi when we work with you anyway. So appreciate you very, very much. And we look forward to continuing working with you. Have a good day.
Excellent. I'm glad I can help. You have a good day as well.